It is 10:12 right here in the heart of the Riverbend on this 18th day of January. Ron Habeck is a local author, walks the sky. I am so sorry. I don't know. I was talking to you, and I was typing in the name of your book on our little site here, and I completely botched that. Give me 2 seconds. We'll just fix it in post, is what I always tell everyone. Well, Ron, thank you for joining us. And I met you a few months ago at the Hainer Library, a local book fair, which was awesome, to talk to so many local authors. And Walk the Sky has been kind of turning some heads. Talk to us about, just give us a brief overview of the book for all of those who haven't read it yet or gotten their hands on it. And I'll ask you a little bit about the recognitions it's received.
Okay. Yeah, it's the story about the Cherokee Trail of Tears. It's a lot of people don't realize that when they started that, they had to round people up and put them in a concentration camp. So the story is about a captain who's sent to this concentration camp, discovers that they're living in their own filth, they're living in a horse corral, and also discovers his long-lost love from when he was a teenager as one of the Cherokees being held there. And now he's faced with the decision of his sense of duty versus his sense of love and what's right or wrong.
So it sounds like you're going to be doing some thinking while you're reading this book, huh?
Yeah, and kind of my motivation to write it is, we could sit here and say, hey, the Cherokees were forced to march 900 miles to a different land. Hey, let's go get some pizza. It has no impact.
Yeah, right.
And so with the story, I wanted people to, at least have some, whenever they think about it, maybe have a little bit of a, not necessarily pain, but some feeling there, like, okay, I can recognize what they went through.
Well, I think it's really a great way to do it because you're right. I mean, we always look back on things and go, well, that's sad. And then you're right. You move on and you go watch, whatever you want to watch on television. But you put us in a different situation with this because you're, putting us in the what would you do type of scenario. Right. How difficult is it to write a historical fiction? Because I'm sure you have to keep it in a parameter that still entitles that part of life and part of history.
Honestly, I think if somebody's going to write historical fiction, they're probably interested in that era. So it's probably not really difficult. It's a lot of enjoyment. Actually, for me, it was a lot of fun, especially editing, finding maybe phrases or words that for instance, when the main character is reuniting with his father. When I first wrote it, I said that he felt like a teenager. Well, back then they didn't use that phrase. Teenager wasn't used, so I had to find a new way of saying that.
Right.
So that part was fun. Was finding terms and phrases and try to put the reader in that position without using too much old language. So, but yeah, if you enjoy a certain area, I think writing it is fun. You are kind of in a box,
right?
You can't can't say a spaceship landed and pull out the lightsaber and stuff like that. Right. So you are somewhat restricted, but I think that's the challenge. The fun of the challenge is staying within that. Period.
Were you always a history guy? Was that a topic for you? Was it certain events that you always kind of followed along with? I
always enjoyed history. Growing up, always read either biographies or history, and just different. If I read about different events, I'll kind of put myself there. And with Walks the Sky, I'm a veteran, so I kind of thought, okay, what if I was asked to force these people to march? Could I have done that, or how would I have lived with myself? So that's kind of how the story evolved, was from just putting myself in that perspective.
Well, and see, that's why I think this book is so interesting, because I'm like you. I like to put myself in the situation at hand, So when I look back on different, because I'm a big history guy too, and I'll go back, well, my favorite question that I ask myself is, could you have really survived in a day in medieval life, or a day in the 1800s, in the West? And the answer is no. But
I think for most of us.
Well, it's right. And the thing is, I do just what you said. What would I do in these situations? Like any historical thing, I've always gone, would you have done this? Would And there's so many to debate about, but this is a great book for me because it's what I like to do. Would I be able to do the task at hand? And the answer is probably no. But Ron, another thing that really I want to talk to you about is that it received 5 stars from the Historical Fiction Company and received the Award of Excellence. That's got to feel pretty darn good.
Yeah, it's not necessarily when you write something. I personally didn't write it with the idea of getting awards.
Right.
But it's always nice. It's kind of cool to get that feedback that your hard work is being well received. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
And just to kind of segue off of that, were you always a writer? Was this kind of a side project for a little bit? You're kind of giving me the look like,
No, the history of my writing history, when I was in grade school, every year I won the young authors.
Really?
Yeah, and then I got away from it, and then probably about 2005 or so, for Christmas, my wife bought me a laptop, and I said, "What's this for?" And she said, "I'm tired of you talking about writing. I want you to actually start writing." So I have to give her a lot of credit.
All right, we're coming over to you now real quick.
Okay.
Was there some moping going around with the writing process? Is that why the laptop came in? Because I can just tell you're a big driving force with supporting this. That's really cool to see.
Yeah, I don't know if there was moping, but there was just a lot of talk about it.
Oh.
One day I'm going to write. One day I'm going to write. Oh, I think I could write about this, or I think I could write about that. And he started doing all this reading, and he was already doing research without calling it that. And so finally I was like, okay, you need to stop talking about it and just do it.
So I give her a lot of credit, and I did in the book, gave her a lot of credit.
That's incredible. So now, from start to finish, I ask every writer this: how long did it take to get this one done?
It took about 9.5 years.
Wow.
It started back in about 2012. I went to San Francisco to a pitch conference, and what that was about 4 days. They kind of help you narrow down your idea, and then the last day they had real agents come in, and you pitched your idea to them. And there's about 20 people in the course, and I was the only one that all the agents said, "I want that when you're done," which was great, but I hadn't done any research on it yet. so I had the story idea, and my original plan was for the story to take place on the trail itself. And as I started doing research, I kind of found out it wasn't going to work, so I was kind of stuck. But then I learned about the concentration camps, the forts that they were held at, and it just finally started falling into place. But it took about a year and a half of solid research to get it done, and then from there, just with having a family and another career and stuff, it just took a while to write it.
But you know what? I mean, that's what I like to kind of hear, though, because you definitely put your due diligence into this, and it's not, just write it and let's throw it out there and see if. Right. Because there's sometimes I'm going, hey, you might want to proofread this before you just throw it out.
I definitely didn't want to just throw it out. I mean, I get that temptation because you get into it and you're like, I just want people to read this and get the story out. But I didn't want to do that, and got together with a really wonderful editor. And probably from August of 2021 to November 2021, I probably went through that book about 9 times, just editing it, just constantly going through it and finding things. So
that's incredible. Well, I'm looking right here. Every review page, whether it's Amazon or you name it, is giving it 5 stars. And by the way, if you want a copy, 5 left in stock, so you better hurry if you want a paperback. That's incredible. Now, did you expect to have this type of reception to this piece?
I knew, from the pitch conference, and just I've had a couple of beta readers.
Yeah.
Just the feedback I got, I knew it was a good story, and I knew I felt like it was a story that needed to be told. So yeah, the feedback has been very positive, and I just I don't know, it's been nice and validating, and it kind of motivates you to keep writing other things. If you got 0 response back, you might want to close the laptop off.
I'm telling you. That's what I keep telling, because I just had to talk to somebody the other day. I finally showed somebody my text line, and some texts are nice, and then the other ones are just awful. Just the worst thing. Imagine Twitter on steroids. And I just go, they're like, man, do you care? No, because at least they're listening. I thank them for listening. We move on. And just like, you got to have some response. If there's no response, why do it?
Right.
And you just hit it right on the head. Well, I got to ask you, when you're doing your research, was there a moment where you had to stop and go, wow, I didn't realize how, bad this was, or how intensive this
Yeah, it was. Some of the research was really hard. Just what they went through. And unfortunately, one of the characters in the book kind of gets the brunt of all of that, because I wanted all that information to be known, but I couldn't, spread it out to 10 or 12 different characters. So I had to put it all on one character, unfortunately, for that person. But in the book, but yeah, it was hard, and just again, I feel as we go along in time, we can't forget, what happened in the past.
Exactly.
And that was another part of the goal, was just to, hey, we can't ignore what happened.
Well, I'm really excited to start diving myself into the book. Walks the Sky. It's available on Amazon, and I got to ask you, what's coming down the pipeline? Are you thinking historical fiction again? If you're right. Again.
Yes. Right now, I have another book with an editor, and that is about two friends growing up in the 1930s, 1940s coal mining town, dealing with racism and things like that. So it's definitely a different topic. But then I'm doing research for a third book, which may actually end up being a series where I'm going back to Native Americans to the Creek War, which took place right around the War of 1812.
Okay.
And then you had the Creek Indian Wars, which kind of went at the same time. So, and that was one doing research, and I stumbled upon that doing research for Walks the Sky.
Really?
Just the stories. There's so many incredible stories for the Creek War that I could just spend probably the rest of my writing career just writing about that era of time.
Well, and that's what I think so fascinating about so much of the historical side of writing, and maybe it's historical fiction, maybe it's just a nonfiction piece on it. I mean, there's so many things that we really don't know too much about, and
right.
You say Creek War, and I just know just from documentaries of watching trilogy, I've heard bits and pieces of things,
right.
but don't really know the full in depth. And I'm guaranteeing you that our listeners are going, "The hell's a Creek War?" Because we
right.
don't learn about that now. Whenever you're doing your research and you're going through this process, did your perspective on certain things ever change? Going, when you're doing research, going, "Wow, I didn't notice anything about this," or "I didn't know, X, Y, and Z."
Yeah. Actually, one of the things that was kind of neat is to realize how many American citizens were against the relocation of the Native Americans.
Really?
And I found that along the trail, I kind of went into it thinking, along the trail they passed through a town and people were throwing tomatoes at them or something like that. It wasn't that way at all. It was actually the opposite. People were just heartbroken that this was happening to the Native Americans, and they actually helped feed them and things like that along the way. So that was kind of a neat thing to stumble upon, because you always
I'm
think
right
the
there
worst.
with you. I would have thought that you're getting tarred and feathered almost and humiliated when you're walking through a town. That's wow.
Yeah, and actually a lot of the soldiers that helped were doing it, but it wasn't something they enjoyed at all. So it was just mainly the powers that be that wanted it to happen, and they forced it to happen, and so that was kind of a unexpected thing to stumble upon.
Absolutely. And I got to ask, what have you been most proud about with this writing career?
His tenacity.
Ooh, I like the word.
Yeah.
I like the word.
Just sticking with it. And that's a theme in his life. He sticks with something until it gets done, and I'm really proud of that.
Now, I got a question. Who was the first to peer review the final piece? Was it you? Was it a friend? Was it mom, dad? Was it
the final piece? Probably a friend.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I don't think it was me.
I think a lot of the work was done with the editor.
Right.
So we kind of did a lot of that work together. So I can't say there's one person that saw that final piece. So.
Absolutely. Well, where can more people find out information on what's coming down the pipe? Because we got to get you back on when you're writing these books. You aren't going
absolutely.
anywhere.
That'll work.
Not whenever we. I mean, you really are talented at what you do, and
I appreciate that.
To me, all the pieces are put together too. And I think before we even do that, I want to just ask you real quick about. You said this peer conference or the pitch conference. To me, those are things that I've never even heard about that are in this industry. Can you talk about some of those things real quick? The peer conference and some other ins and outs that you utilize to get this going?
Yeah, there's writing conferences you can go to. Some of them, like, I don't know, on the beach or up in the mountains, and you go for a weekend and you just go out and you write, and then you get together and you talk and throw ideas at each other. This pitch conference was more just getting your idea to agents and if nothing else, learn how to narrow down your story quite a bit. Through that, I took a course, a writing course. That was part of the 1.5 year research was doing the writing course.
Okay.
And it was just online, just again, teaching you how to pick things out, do background stories, how to get your theme, and how to just lay out a story in general. So, if somebody's interested in writing, there's a lot of resources out there that you can find online or just at the bookstore, about how to write. Things like that.
That's incredible. Well, for more information on us to follow along with your journey, any updates on the new books coming our way?
You can go to my website. It's www.ronhabeckauthor.com. And then I have a Facebook page, Ron Habeck Author, and then also I'm on Instagram.
That's incredible. And you guys can pick up can you buy it from the website directly? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Answering all my questions. And on Amazon. But if you're on Amazon, you better buy quick. 5 left. And I'm really impressed, and I really appreciate you guys coming on the show and sharing your book.
Thank you so much
with
for
us.
having us. It was great meeting you at the book event, and then to actually be here is funny how.
Well, the best part of it, you guys don't realize this. I had like a stack of 40 business cards from this thing. I was ready to have all these authors on, and then I cleaned my car out and I lost all my business cards.
Right.
So I had no way to get in touch with anyone, and I finally got a message, and I'm so glad that it worked out this way. Ron, thank you so much. And I forgot to ask you, your name's Jeannie, right?
Jane Ann.
Janie. Okay, see, I didn't want to do it because I always embarrass myself once a show and I forget something. But all I know at 1028 is that if you guys haven't read Walks the Sky yet, you're in for a treat. You can find it on Amazon or Ron's website. Thank you for your time.
Oh, thank you.
Coming up is Patrick Berger on ways that you guys can maybe lower your insurance rate. We'll find out all about that and more right after this quick break on the 18th day of January.